Imagine being cut from your middle school team only to rise and become the Midway University and KHSAA Player of the Year for the state in high school. This is the incredible journey of Lili Smith, who overcame a devastating ankle injury and is now set to play for James Madison University, a team just 3 years removed from the College World Series. And it's so good to have you on, Lili. And let's talk about, first off, let's start right from that moment. I mean, being cut from the middle school team, I've been cut before, and I know what that was like. What was running through your mind at that moment?
I was definitely heartbroken. As a sixth grader, you look forward to trying out and being a part of the team. And I had worked out all year round, like preparing for that moment. And then unfortunately, actually, like a month and a half before that, I had a stress fracture in my foot. So I had been wearing a boot to school, and I took it off for tryout day just so I could try out and see. And unfortunately, I was cut. But I think that moment was kind of a turning point for my softball career. It really sparked a new drive to prove people wrong.
And, the funny thing about it is, in a way, the situation's not funny, but what's funny is you never did get to play middle school ball, and why is that?
Yeah, so after I was cut, and they actually put me on as an alternate, so basically if they needed somebody for practice, or every once in a while they'd let us come to games and kind of just be a part of the team, just so we weren't truly, you're not allowed to be a part of this. I went to work. I mean, from the day I was cut, I was heartbroken, but I told myself I'm not going to let this stop me. So I worked out for a whole year. I went to high school workouts because they're open to seventh graders. I went to the weight room with the high school team. I conditioned, and then I tried out for the JV varsity team and ended up making it. And they were like, you cannot play middle school if you're going to be a part of us. So I went straight up, and I played under Terry Callahan and Nikki Beek and Coach Maynard, actually. And went straight to the high school team.
Now, talk about that experience coming in there, because you go from all of a sudden being cut from the middle school team to the sixth grader, and now you're coming into high school and having to play against mostly older players. And talk about the challenges of that first.
It was, obviously in seventh grade, I'm really small compared to a junior in high school, which oftentimes we'd play against, juniors and below for JV. So that was a big change for me, was just adjusting to the size. Those girls throw harder, they run faster, they hit harder. So I really had to learn how to be able to adapt so that I didn't stick out and look like I was like a lot younger than them. So I actually played a bunch of different positions for the JV team, just kind of wherever they needed me. So along with having to kind of grow up, physically, also had to mentally.
Yeah, when you were in high school playing, or middle school, I should say, when did you feel like you started to click and find your true position?
Probably about halfway through, when I was, this is real, I'm a part of this. And then I kind of found who I was as a player. And then kind of built off that. As a seventh grader, obviously, I think I was only 13 when we started playing. So it's kind of a weird age for anybody anyways. And then trying to fit in with high school girls and be a part of a team, it taught me a lot, I think. And I figured out, who I was as a player. I figured out I'm a power hitter. I'm truly mostly a corner, but I'll play anywhere you want me. Nikki would play me literally anywhere in the field. I mean, I'd be pitching, and then all of a sudden I'd be at second base or first base. So it was really wherever she wanted me. So I also learned some versatility with that.
So you're building momentum, you're going on, and you're starting to have some success at the high school level, and then your ankle injury happens. Describe that situation, and sort of like with being cut, what was running through your mind when that happened?
So we're playing Round County. It's our sixth game of the season, I think. We had played 2 scrimmages, so I guess it was my 8th season of my junior year. I had been lifting heavy, working out a lot. I was in, great shape. I was hitting the crap out of the ball. I mean, it was really like, I was like, wow, this is going to be a great year for me. So we're playing Rowan County. We're having a really tough game, and I was trying to find any way to score for my team. So I hit a ball to shortstop, and I decided I was going to try and get in a rundown on purpose to score our runner on third. And on my way back to first base, the throw, the first baseman misses it, and as I'm stepping on the base, the ball gets caught under my foot. So I'm stepping on a ball and the base at the same time. So my ankle obviously rolled a lot. So my immediate thought was, what just happened? I could feel a pop. I just kind of laid there and I was like, I don't know what to do right now. That was a feeling I don't really know how to describe. You know, it was silent. Everyone was silent, and I was just laying there waiting for someone to help me. It was heartbreaking. But I think it taught me a lot. That's something you really have to overcome because ankle is obviously, you know, that's an important part, especially playing-wise. That's, I mean, running, planting, swinging, everything has to do with your ankle. So it was hard. My immediate reaction was, oh no, what am I going to do? But yeah, it was heartbreaking.
And what was your reaction in the weeks afterward? How long did that end up keeping you out of play?
Well, I was on a roller coaster, I would say, of emotions for a while. When I first went to get looked at by Dave Coburn, it was so swollen, it was kind of hard to see what was going on. So we were like, yeah, it's probably just a sprain, you know, just a minor sprain, not too bad. And then like a week had passed and I could still bear like barely any weight on it, which is pretty alarming. So then I ended up getting into Dr. Smith. I got an MRI and the results looked really bad on paper. So I had 2 torn ligaments on the outside of my ankle. Normally, you know, most people think torn ligament, you're probably going to have surgery. So Dr. Smith's first thought was, it's going to have surgery. So obviously that's devastating to me because I'm definitely missing high school as well as my travel ball season at that point. And that's a pretty long and hard recovery. So then I ended up getting into a doctor at Marshall, and he looked at it, Dr. Jasko, I think, and he sent me to physical therapy with Dave Coburn, and I grinded at physical therapy 3 days a week for at least 2 hours, and I was able to avoid the surgery, which was wonderful. But like I said, it was like a roller coaster of, you're going to have surgery, you're not going to have surgery, you're going to have surgery, you're fine. But it was probably 2 of the hardest months for me. Softball is my escape. It's what I love to do, and so having something like that taken away from me just like that, I mean, it was really hard. Having to watch my team and not be able to be out there to help, it was really hard on me mentally. But Dave Coburn, I mean, he's one of the best around here. He pushed me to my limits, sometimes even past my limits mentally. But I trusted him the whole way, and he got me back just in time for, like, I think the last game of the season, and then I got to play in the district tournament. So
yeah, that's good to see, and that had to be so tough on you. And talk a little bit about your travel ball seasons and some of the memories from playing that.
So I started travel ball when I was in 10U. So I started out around here with the KC Diamond Gems, and I played for them for 2 years, and my dad was actually my coach my second year. Unfortunately, we clash too much over softball. We don't work well as a daughter and coach. So I started out with them, and then he decided, this isn't going to work. You need to find someone else. So then I ended up going to the West Virginia Dusters, which I think they're still a thing. Players like, I don't know if you know Morgan Zirkle, Marshall's coach. She actually played for the Dusters back in the day. So I played for them for 2 years as well. My coach at the time was Dave Fry, and I'm still actually really close with him and his family today. They're from South Charleston. And then I ended up going to an Ohio team called the Ohio Outlaws, and we were also still based out of West Virginia, and it was a lot of the same girls, just a different coach. And we played for 2 different teams, so we started out as the Outlaws, and then we ended up going to the Unity. So throughout those 4 to 5 years, I played with basically the same girls. Many of them I'm still really close with. Even one of them is my best friend today. Her name is Lindsay. She's going to Rye to play softball, actually. But, getting to play around here and travel ball around here is special just because, I met people I would never meet, but they still live close to us, so I can go hang out with them, whenever I want. And then after that, I decided I think it's time for me to kind of find a bigger team just because I knew I wanted to play Division I softball. I decided that when I was 12 years old. That's my dream. That's where I want to go. And playing regional is good, but it's not the best for helping me for what I wanted to do. So Georgia Impact, Samson, they're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They actually saw my videos on Twitter and reached out to my dad and was like, hey, we'd love to have her down for a workout. So I came down to Atlanta. It was last minute. We drove 8 hours. And I hit for about an hour and a half with the team, and I loved the girls, the environment. Those girls are crazy. I mean, some of the teams those girls are going to play out, just to name off, Oklahoma, Alabama, Washington, Wofford. Gosh, there's so many. Ole Miss, Louisville. That team was absolutely stacked with amazing girls, but amazing players as well. So I jumped on with them for a summer. And that was my first ever national travel ball experience. It was a rude awakening, to say the least. Going from playing around here to playing girls from California is crazy. The talent across the country is insane, but when you really get to go and play people like that, I mean, it's eye-opening. Our games would have Patty Gasso, Oklahoma's coach, behind, Patrick Murphy. All those huge coaches would just be at our games. So obviously 16-year-old me is kind of freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this before. So that was a learning curve for me, because I was a lot more successful around here, but I also wasn't playing near the competition that I was when I got on that national schedule. So I was able to travel to Colorado, California, Florida, and Georgia and Tennessee with that team. And then I decided that, that it wasn't the best fit for me. Just overall, it was a hard drive, obviously. And it just wasn't the right place for me. And from my recruiting standpoint, I just thought that, it's time for me to go somewhere else. So, I ended up deciding, I want to reach out to some teams, and Team North Carolina Hind is who I play for now. I had actually been around Coach Kevin, who was our head coach, multiple times. I tried to be on his team, and he was always full with seniors or older girls, and it was just that's not really going to help my recruiting if I'm on a team where I'm not really going to get to play because there's already 20 people on the team. So I messaged him, and we went back and forth, and I went down and worked out with them. And I knew, this is where I want to be. These girls, the coaches, just everything about the team was perfect for me. So I jumped on with them fall of 22, and I haven't looked back. So we've been basically the same places as my other team. We've been to California, Colorado, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida. But outside of softball, those girls are my best friends. I talk to most of them every day. I think there's 18 of us on the team. And our coach really does a great job of finding things for us to do while we're at tournaments. When we go to California, all of us get to go out on a sunset cruise with the coaching staff. So that's really awesome. That's definitely one of my favorite memories with them. And so yeah, it's special. The travel ball experience is really special, and it's totally been worth it for me. I mean, it got me recruited. I've made my best friends, and I've been coached by great people who have mentored me, on the field, but as well as off the field. Two of the female coaches for my travel team, they played at Florida and North Carolina. Lauren Hager played at Florida. She was actually the MVP of the World Series when Florida won. She was
Wow.
a pitcher. Yeah, she's awesome. And then our other coach is Brittany Pickett. She played at University of North Carolina, and she's an All-American. So they're really special to have on board. Not only are they teaching us softball, but they're teaching us life lessons and teaching us how to be young women. So it's really special. It's a special thing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about your recruitment and how that picked up. You mentioned some of the trips, and when did that moment click in your head, Lili? Like, of course, playing for Russell and playing the travel ball, you had a lot of good exposure. When did that moment click that, okay, I know JMU is the right decision for me?
It was actually as soon as I stepped on campus. So I went to, I had been talking to Coach Herzig, which is the one who mainly recruited me. She's the associate head coach. She's been at a lot. She's been at a ton of our games. One of our seniors last year, she's a freshman at JMU this year. She was already signed there, so they would be there anyways. And they'd come and I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're here. And my first tournament with the team, I hit 2 home runs. And that caught their eye because they were at those games when I hit them. So then they were like, we're going to keep watching. And I've been telling my coach, I'm like, oh my gosh, when are they going to reach out? Like, I'm ready. Like, I think this is where I want to go. So they reached out in December, and then I had a camp and a visit that I went to in January. And as soon as I stepped on campus, I was like, this is where I want to be. You kind of get this feeling when you know where you want to be. It's like a when you know moment. And I had that moment, like, as soon as I got on campus, and then when I got with the coaching staff, all the girls at camp, the whole time I was like, this is where I want to go. I couldn't think of going anywhere else.
My gosh, and yeah, you're talking about a school that's won 60% of its games the last 2 years, that, like I mentioned earlier, just 3 years removed from a World Series appearance. And reflecting back now, Lili, looking at your time at Russell, what would be, I know it's hard to pick one particular favorite memory, but just whatever comes to mind, whether it's a game or a fun moment off the field with your teammates, what's a fun memory that comes to mind?
I think my freshman year was the year when we upset Raceland in the district tournament. That has to be my favorite memory. That year the senior class had Ansley Dawson. She was a member of the senior class. And Ansley's like my best friend. She's basically like my older sister. And so, we were all kind of worried because Raceland was ranked in the state. They were number 1 seed. We had won like 9 games or something. And so we came into that game kind of carefree, like, what's going to happen if, we lose? So we came in and we upset them. That was crazy. I think that has to be my favorite memory on the field. And then off the field has to be our Myrtle Beach trip. It's amazing. So fun to hang out with all the girls.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I had that 2021 schedule open, Lili, and wow, yeah, you had two double-digit losses, one a 5-inning loss to Raceland in the season. So, gosh, talk about a show of resilience in that case, and talk about some questions. So, for some questions to get to know you better, who are some of your role models in the field of softball?
Montana Faust was probably my biggest role model. Obviously Montana's from the 16th region. She's from East Carter. So I grew up watching her, and to see somebody from this area go and do something as big as her, it's truly special, and it was inspiring to me. As a 6th grader, I would go to her games and sit in the stands at East Carter, no matter who they were playing. They weren't playing Russell, it'd be anybody, just to watch her play, because she truly showed, like, she's so amazing. So I'd go to her games, and then, obviously as a 6th grader, you're freaking out because, like, oh my gosh, my role model's here. And then I'd try and talk to her after the game, and she was the sweetest person I'd ever met. So to see somebody who was so good at the sport, was going to the University of Alabama, which is obviously a top program in the country to play softball at, and just be so humble at the same time. It was truly special to me, and she inspired me, not only to be a great softball player and maybe get the opportunity like her, but to also have that approach to young girls, like, don't treat them as if they're below you or anything like that. So she inspired me, be a great player, but also be a great person. And, that actually sparked interest in me. I give lessons now and coach young girls. So I think she kind of started that for me. Just the way she treated me, I wanted to make other young girls feel the same way.
And your favorite place to eat?
Ooh. Chick-fil-A, for sure.
And who's the competitor in high school that, and this could be at the travel ball level or locally, that you've admired their game?
I would say Skylar Lawrence. She's an absolute dog on the field. She can smoke the ball over the scoreboard, and she's just a great person as well. So she's definitely, that's who I would take.
And what are some of your hobbies off the field?
I enjoy listening to music. I like to read. I also like to hang out with my friends, and then I obviously like to work out.
What's something academically that you're involved with? Maybe a club or an accomplishment you have? Share something on that end, because I know that you had some looks from some Ivy League schools, and obviously, and JMU also, of course, a prestigious academic school, and you just don't get those kind of looks unless you also have something you can bring to the field academically, not to mention the award you won, the Midway KHSAA Player of the Year, also based on academics somewhat.
So I'm pretty involved at Russell itself, so I was in all of the academic clubs. I was a member of all of them. So that would be like National Honor Society, Beta Club, National English Honor Society, Social Studies Honor Society, and Math Honor Society. And then outside of like the academic part of clubs, I was also the president of the PEP Club. So I organized all of I was a co-president, I guess. We had I had two other girls that did it with me. So we organized all the themes and all that stuff. And then I also started the Unify Club at Russell, so that's our club that promotes inclusion for everybody. So me and Coach Lane, we actually set up an assembly for our special education students to get to play basketball, a unified basketball game in front of the whole school. So I think me being involved in all that stuff, as well as being ranked, I ended up at the end of the year being ranked 14th in my class at Russell. So I think those two really caught the eye of some of those really high academic schools. And then my ACT score, it's not like crazy, but I ended up with a 26, but my reading was a 33. So that really, when you get into the 30s, you kind of start catching people's eyes, especially in a specific subject and it being like high like that. So I think those things really caught those schools' eyes.
Yeah, and what's a cool fact about yourself? Maybe something not a lot of people know.
I danced competitively and recreationally for about 11 years.
Pretty cool. And any shout-outs you'd like to give?
I'll shout out my parents for everything they've done for me to help me get to this point, as well as all my coaches who helped me with softball but also mentored me as a person, and then my sister, who is going to be a freshman next year, and I'll be leaving her, sadly.
I bet that had to be a neat experience, just getting to play. I mean, I know teammates consider each other brothers and sisters, but to get to play with a biological sister, that had to be a neat experience.
Well, actually, she just decided this year she was going to play softball, so we missed it by a year. She's going to play, she'll be freshman in high school this coming year, and she decided that she wanted to play at the end of our season. So we missed it by a year, but when we were younger, we would have some fights in the backyard over softball.
That's funny. And my last question for you, Lily, what do you want your legacy to be? And I'm just not talking about at Russell or with your travel teams, but you see some of the sports throughout the 16th region. Wrestling, volleyball. I mean, to name a couple, archery, softball, and they're growing at, and having covered these, I can say firsthand, they're growing at rapid rates. Talk about what you want your legacy to be on the sport.
I just want to inspire others, other girls especially, to not give up. When things get hard or don't go your way, persevere and fight for what you want. If you want something that bad, you're going to fight for it and get it. So I want to be somebody that they look up to, that's been through hard things and persevered and found a way to do what they wanted to do, as well as just being a great person overall. I think that's a legacy I would like to leave on and off the field.
That's awesome. Well, Lili, we want to thank you for your time and wish you all the best in your journey to James Madison. And be sure and follow this James Madison softball team. Like I said, they are tough, and they'll be a problem for anybody they play. And we look forward to cheering Lili's success on at the next level. Be sure to stay tuned for more interviews, and we want to say thank you for watching this episode of the Player Spotlight. I'm Tyler Rowland. God bless you. We will see you soon.